Yeah, I kind of was looking at my video that I just did earlier. I kind of noticed that I kind of repeated myself quite a bit. I apologize for that, but I'm not really apologizing for what I had to say.
今日もよろしくね、オーナーさん。
Just for the fact that I was kind of repeating myself a lot. Yeah, and that's kind of my bad. Um, I might have to edit that video, reclip it. I might just upload it anyways because I'm not really too familiar with editing software at the moment. Probably be good if I kind of learned a bit about editing software. I just don't really know much about editing software. I do have it, I just don't really know how to use it. And like I said, I apologize for my earlier video. I did repeat myself quite a lot. So that might have been a little agitating for somebody to watch. But I think the message from my previous video is I'm going to try and reduce it and simplify it, is, how can I say this? Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure I'm thinking about how I can say it without like repeating myself, and not going over the same thing and mentioning the same thing over and over again. So I'm just trying to think how to formulate this and say it without kind of like doing that again. And so I want to give you like kind of the more simpler version. And yeah, I guess like I was saying, I'm just gonna say this once. I'm not gonna go over it multiple times like last time. I'm just gonna say it once. If it makes sense, it makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense to you. When I was kind of using the metaphor as Neo. If you ever watched the Matrix movie, basically Neo, he's basically a character that's kind of like just in a reality of his own world that's just he doesn't really want to be in anymore, and he's tired of that reality. He's bored, he's sick of it, and it's just, to him, it's the same old boring routine over and over again. There's really nothing refreshing, nothing new, and he's kind of like he feels drained from the issues and the situations going on around him, and it's kind of making his life seem very dull and routine and just bland, and from all just the things he's going through and all the things, circumstances that he's constantly going through over and over again. So he's just basically at a point where he wants to just find a way to escape that reality that he's living in, not realizing that he's actually in a whole created reality from machines. But basically, so there's more than his reality he's living, which is in a virtual reality created by machines, but it's the reality he's familiar with. But basically, he wants to kind of like escape from the reality and to see what else is out there for him, instead of feeling like he's living the same routine, dull life, and just constantly dealing with the same circumstances over and over again. So he's kind of like longing for a way to kind of like completely be a whole different person in a whole new reality that's not who he is in the current reality he's living. And that's kind of why I use kind of like that metaphor of Neo when I was saying in my earlier video about how gamers basically want to be Neo, how they want to find a way to be able to separate themselves from the reality that they're living in, and then how they want to be that Neo, and how they want to escape from their own reality. And video games are that other reality. It's besides it being like an art form of for a director to have creative expression, it's also an escapism for gamers, and a means to kind of like allow them a way to kind of separate themselves from the reality they're living. And that's kind of what I was using that metaphor for, was like the gamers Neo, and they're trying to escape their reality and find a way to bring themselves into a whole new reality, and that whole new reality is video games for them. And for gamers, that's what their new reality is video games. And so, like I was saying, when you have this woke ideology that's being pushed by woke feminists, that their goal is simply, whether they're a journalist, consultant, or localizer, or if they're a feminist that works within a gaming company or within a developing company that's creating a video game, they're not really there to allow, like I said, freedom of expression, free speech, and a free market. They're literally there to reduce, restrict, and exclude things that offend them, that they find offensive specifically to them, regardless if it doesn't offend anybody else. And so that's kind of what I was saying earlier about that, about, you know, and just pretty much not being able to have the right as a gamer to be able to bring yourself into a whole new reality and experience that whole new reality, because something within that reality was that reality being the video game is either being restricted, censored, or excluded. So that's why I'm saying, like, gamers kind of suffer from that, because, you know, and they're not getting the full product of what it could be, because, you know, and the developers being restricted from, you know, to express yourself creatively, and because they're in a situation where they're being forced to exclude something or to restrict something. They're not suffering they're suffering from not being able to be fully creative, expressive, or in an artistic way. But the gamer kind of suffers too, because they're not able to experience the whole new reality of everything that could have been in that reality, especially when they're trying to escape the reality of their own reality that they're living in this world. And when they're trying to bring themselves into a whole new reality, but they're not getting that whole new reality because the developers being restricted and forced to exclude something, and not being giving them that, and not having the right to be as fully expressive in an artistic way as they could be, or that they should be allowed to be as a developer, because of woke feminists pushing this woke ideology. And like I said, you know, and it's basically censorship, and then exclusion and restricting. And unfortunately, the last 10 years, that's where games have gone, especially with all this censorship and exclusion and restriction, specifically only towards, you know, female video game characters that, you know, aren't ideal to these woke feminists. And so. That's what I was saying about the whole, like, you're Neo, you're going to a different whole reality, one separate from the reality you're living, and as a gamer you're Neo, because you're literally trying to find a way to escape from your reality into a whole different new reality. And then, like I said, the gamer suffers, the developer suffers, because with this woke ideology constantly forcing the developer to not allow them to have the free reins to be as creatively expressive that they want to be in an artistic way, they're forced to reduce or restrict or exclude something from what they're trying to express, because they're being forced to do that. And that's how, like, developers suffer, not, like I was saying earlier, gamers suffer, because when they're going into this whole new reality video game, they're not actually able to experience everything that video game could offer them, because it's being restricted or censored or reduced, or having things in it that's been excluded from the game. So yeah, that's what I was kind of saying about that earlier. And then the three stages of, like I was saying, stages I was explaining earlier in my other video. But I don't want to go over that too much, because like I said, I don't want to keep repeating myself over and over again, and that's going to probably be irritating to anybody who watches this video, because I want to become a better YouTuber, have a gaming channel for YouTube. But like I was saying, the three stages of censorship, which has happened within the last 10 years of this woke ideology that's been pushed by woke feminists, one was the light censorship within the beginning of the 10 years. In the middle of the 10 years, it was the heavy censorship, and then at the end, roughly in the more current years, it was the objectification of specifically female video game characters. And this is all happening in the West, not so much in the East. The East is kind of going in that direction that the West has gone in, but I'm referring to more the West than the East about these three stages. And I'll just recap it quickly, because I don't want to, like I said, go over and repeat myself too often. But the first stage, like I said, was basically slightly reducing the breast size, slightly reducing the curvature of the body to not give it less of an hourglass figure, and just putting more clothes on them. Not covering up to neck to toe in clothing, but just putting more clothes on them to show a little less skin. That was light censorship within the very beginning of the 10 years of this woke feminist ideology that's been pushed by woke feminists. And then after, like I said, in the middle of the 10 years, it became heavy censorship, and that was pretty much completely altering the costumes and covering them up to neck to toe in clothing, and heavily reducing the breast size to basically an A cup and a B cup, and completely excluding jiggle physics, specifically from female video game characters. That was the heavy censorship that kind of happened in the middle of the 10 years that this woke ideology has been pushed by woke feminists. And then the more recent years, like I said, it became objectification. And that was kind of like, at this point, just completely drastically reducing the curvature of the hourglass of specifically female video game characters. And then really that was about it. But it was also and just giving them a more masculine personality and a more masculine face. And that was pretty much the uglification at that point was, because during the censorship, the first the light censorship and the heavy censorship, like that already got to pretty much just completely like unfeminizing the female body and female video game characters' bodies. But because that was already done within the light and heavy censorship, so it wasn't really done that much on the uglification because like the body proportions were completely altered like about 5 years into the 10 years of woke ideology. So it became more uglification of the face, and then just giving them a more masculine personality, and like making it where they were stronger, tougher, better than men, basically. And then eventually getting to the face where it even made that more of a masculine look. Like I said in my other video, it became, instead of being more round and soft and fluffy and just more gentle, it became about they changed it to be more rigid, more angular, more strong, more tough, and eyes being a lot more smaller instead of wider, and the cheeks being a lot more thinner instead of puffier, and the face being more angular instead of round, and then like the personality, just giving them a more masculine personality, a more domineering personality instead of a more gentle, soft, kind personality, but still being able to kick ass. And then like that was the uglification. So yeah, it got really bad. And like this is why I'm saying we won't see games like this anymore when it comes to Dead or Alive. Female video game characters, specifically female video game characters, such as characters from Dead or Alive, anymore because of this woke feminist ideology that's been pushed in the West by woke feminists. So we're not going to see these kinds of female video game characters anymore because of that. And I think I also mentioned in my other video, which I don't want to pre myself too much, is is annoying because it's like they constantly preach inclusion and diversity, but it's like they only want to include what's ideal to them, and then they go out of their way to exclude things that are not ideal to them. So they go on this high horse and virtue single inclusion diversity because they want to include the things that are ideal to them, but then they go out of their way to coerce or suggest or force either inclusion of what's not ideal to them, what offends them, and unfortunately that's characters, female video game characters, like female video game characters from Dead or Alive, and to exclude them entirely out of video games because it's not ideal to woke feminists. And when they're not able to exclude those types of characters, that censors them because it's offensive to them. And like I said, I don't know why it's coming from these woke individuals that's pushing this woke ideology. I don't know if it's coming from like I say, like low self-esteem and low self-confidence, or like lack of self-confidence and low self-esteem. I don't know why they feel like they have to exclude specifically female video game characters. Female video game characters such as characters from Dead or Alive, why they feel like they have to do that and take that right away from other people to enjoy it that doesn't find it offensive. I don't know, like I said, if it's from low self-esteem or if it's from low self-confidence, or if it's just they want to be validated. It could be that and it's the only job that they have, and which their job, like I said, is for in excluding, restricting, and censorship, and not allowing freedom of expression, free speech, and a free market. And that's what their job really is. So why I don't really think we need these kinds of jobs or careers, and they're not jobs, personally, in my opinion, because you're not really doing anything that really benefits anyone. You're basically getting triggered over something that offends you, and somehow thinking that it gives you the right to take away rights of other people, rights of other individuals because something offends you. It's really all it is. So that's why I don't think journalism should exist. Why I don't think consultants should exist and localizers should exist. And like I said, I don't know where it's coming from. Maybe it's fear or insecurity that they might lose their job if they don't do that, because their job is pretty much irrelevant. If you just let a person and a gamer choose for themselves, they become useless. And it's funny because it's like, honestly, that would happen if you let the gamer choose for themselves. Like their job literally is useless at that point. If you just let an individual that purchase games choose for themselves what they want to buy, their job literally becomes irrelevant. It becomes useless. So I think it's maybe insecurity of them worrying about losing their job because they have to find something that they need to censor and restrict and exclude, or it's because it's literally coming from a place of insecurity, or well, either way, if it's because I have low self-confidence or self-esteem, or they're worried about losing their job, both of those are literally just coming from insecurity from them. And I honestly think it's just a bunch of snowflakes that are easily triggered and offended that are absolutely insecure about themselves.
もう夕方か。一日が早いわね。行きますわよ。
楽しみましょう。マリーと一緒に頑張りましょう。一緒に楽しみましょう。
It's funny, if you do think about it, if you let the gamer decide to choose for themselves with the free market what they want to buy, what they want to play, then like journalists, consultants, and localizers, their job would be irrelevant and they would be useless. So like I said, they have to find an issue with video games. Because it's the only way to allow themselves to keep themselves employed. Because if they didn't do that, then they wouldn't have a job that would at all. Because the job would be irrelevant if and if gamers had the right to choose for themselves, without and developers being restricted and coerced and suggested and like nurtured or anything like that to kind of restrict them from developing the game they want to create and allowing them to be artistically expressive in whatever form they want to be. So like I said, journalists, consultants, localizers, their job literally is just to specifically find something wrong that they can find an issue with so they can keep themselves employed. Because if they let a free market, if they allowed freedom of expression, free speech, and a free market, their jobs would be literally irrelevant. It would be useless. That's why, like, there's no more free market, there's no more free speech, there's no more freedom of expression. Is because they know these woke feminists that's pushing this woke ideology, that's journalists, consultants, or localizers know, and if they let a free market, they let freedom of expression, they let free speech exist, their jobs would be useless, they would be irrelevant, they wouldn't be able to be employed, they would literally have no job to go to. So like I said, I think it's coming from an insecurity of either, them not having a job or them just pretty much, having low self-esteem and self-confidence.
思いっきり行くぞ。遊んであげてもいいわよ。いい試合期待してます。落ち着いていきましょう。どうかしら。
いかがかしら。
一緒に楽しみましょう。
決めます。行くわよ。やったわ。
楽しみましょう。楽しみましょう。ここね。熱い。これでいい？じゃあこの調子で。宿題に行きましょう。
出直しなさい。まだまだね。
Yeah, I just want to apologize too for my first video. It's going to say part 1 of this game for the video. I did notice that I was repeating myself quite a lot. I think I was just repeating myself over and over again because I'm just very agitated at this point. I had to go through to figure out, like, run through hoops to be able to own this game, to be able to own this game and be able to play it. And honestly, like, the only reason why I had to go through run through hoops to be able to own this game and be able to play this game was because of woke feminist ideology. that's been pushed by woke feminists. You know, and like I said, you know, and restricting and not allowing there to be a free market, not allowing there to be free speech, not allowing there to be freedom of expression. And I think like that should be a right that everybody should have and should be given back. And like honestly, I like I said, I really don't think like we need consultants, localizers, and journalists. Honestly, I think just let the game speak for itself. Let the developer create the game that they want to create with no restrictions, and let there be a free market for the consumer to choose what they want. I honestly feel like consultants, localizers, and yeah, journalists are basically the middle people. And like honestly, no matter what, like the middle people are expendable. Like we don't need them in the field. We don't need them in a career. Like they're basically useless. They're the middle. They're basically the middle person. Like that. Like we don't really need. Yeah, it should just be with the gaming industry. Should just be about the gaming company, the developer, and the gamer, not these middle people of journalists, consultants, and localizers. Yeah, like I said, we're never going to see games like this ever again in the West, especially developed in the West or brought over from the East to the West because of this stupid woke ideology. I know I'm saying woke ideology and talking about it a lot, but like, I've been playing games for 20 years of my life and more than 20 years, and within the last 10 years, this whole censorship has just become more drastic over the 10 years. The uglification has become more drastic over the 10 years, and because of how far it's gone, that's been pushed by woke feminists that want to push this ideology, woke ideology. Like, we're never going to get games like this that I absolutely love and enjoy that have, you know, an attractive and gorgeous female video game characters that have fan service and sex appeal. And I miss games, you know, and that have, you know, an attractive, as you know, and gorgeous, sexy, you know, and female video game characters that have fan service and sex appeal, you know, and that have the hourglass figure and that actually have large breasts that jiggle. Like, as, oh my god, I just don't understand this shit, man, with these woke feminists. Whether if it's a male or female feminist, like, they're literally there just to ruin games and ruin the enjoyment of games and then, like, take away, like I said, freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and the free market. Because their job literally only exists as long as they can find something that they feel like they need to, you know, restrict, exclude, or censor. And they're literally the middleman, so middleman, so we don't even really need them or need them to have like jobs like that to begin with. Oh, it's just absurd. Sorry, I shouldn't be talking as much as I am. I should be focusing on just playing the game. But this is an issue that has happened with the woke ideology that's pushing censorship, light, heavy censorship, and uglification that's specifically only female video game characters for the last 10 years in the West. And I'm just so sick and tired of it. Like, I miss games like this where, you know, a gamer can actually have, you know, an attractive characters. And like, it's so hypocritical that it's like they want to make sure that we don't have attractive and gorgeous female video game characters, but it's perfectly fine to have gorgeous and attractive, you know, and male video game characters in the game to be represented, but we can't have attractive, gorgeous female video game characters to be represented in the video game. Like, it's hypocritical. And like, this game right here that I'm playing right now should be easily accessible to me as a customer on a free market if I want to buy it. I shouldn't have to run through hoops to be able to own it and play it like I had to do just to actually be able to have this game, to own this game, to play it. I should have actually had easy accessibility to it. So yeah, it's absolutely infuriating. Like, I don't, obviously, you're watching me right now, I don't have a script. This is actually coming off from the top of my mind. Even the previous video I did, everything was coming from the top of my mind. And I was more, I guess, concerned just getting my point across, so I was repeating myself a lot. I don't like repeating myself. I don't mean to repeat myself a lot. I hate repeating myself. But I think because of just how agitated I am with this censorship of light, heavy censorship and notification, specifically of only female video game characters in the West, and that either they're like being excluded from video games, and if they're not excluded, they're heavily censored. You know, and it's absolutely aggravating. It's infuriating for me. Because, like I said, you know, and I play a game because I want to enjoy a game separate from my reality that brings me to a whole new reality. I don't feel like I need to be represented in a video game. I don't care if I'm representing a video game. I don't think anybody should need to be represented in a video game because that's not what video games are meant to be. They're not meant to take you out of your reality to bring you into a different reality that's just nothing but a reminder of your reality that you live in, that you're trying to escape. Like they have these features that allow you to create a character that kind of you can make a character represent you or look like you, and that's a nice feature to have in a video game, but it's not the reason why people play video games. And if they do make ourselves a character that they want to represent themselves as, either that's a character that they feel they want to represent themselves in the video game, or they make a character because to them it's not that it's a representation of them, but it's just something that's very pleasing for the individual to look at. Like, they still, you don't want to, the gamer, I'm pretty sure, still does, even if they make a character because they just want something attractive to look at, or make a character to represent them, to put themselves in a video game. Like, I'm sure, like, they don't do that so they can be like, I want to bring my reality into video game reality, this whole new reality that I'm putting myself in. Like, I'm sure that's not why they're making a character to represent them, and so they can say, I'm making this character, put in a video game that represents me, so I can bring the reality I'm trying to escape within the new reality I'm putting myself in. Like, I'm sure that's why gamers don't create themselves to when they're playing a video game. And then when the gamer's making a character that's not a representation of them, they're making it because they want to have something attractive and beautiful that's pleasing for them to look at. And I miss games like this that have attractive characters, you know, and that have the soft face where they're more round with the wider eyes, you know, and the breasts, like more than larger breasts that aren't A cup and B cup, that actually, you know, female characters having bigger breasts than just A cup, where it's like a C cup, D cup, or E cup that actually jiggle and have the hourglass figure to them and the curves to the body, like. And I don't see how something like this is so offensive to these woke individuals, these woke feminists that want to push this woke ideology, whether if it's a male feminist or female feminist, that they feel like they need to freaking exclude characters, such as female characters, from Dead or Alive, because it offends them. And somehow that gives them the right to freaking take away something that the rights of other individuals to enjoy something that doesn't offend them. Like, it makes no sense to me. And it's the hypocrisy too, the two things that are so hypocritical about that irritate me as well. The fact, like, all this censorship and notification, they only apply to characters like that's on my screen right now. Like, they don't apply those same principles or standards to male video game characters, like freaking Leon or like Chris or like all these, like Dante or any of these other male video game characters. They don't apply censorship of light or heavy censorship or amplification to those characters, but yet they do it to these characters that are on my screen right now. You know, and characters that have, you know, an actual breast that's more than a freaking B cup, and actually have curves to their body and have jiggle physics that have sex appeal and fan service. Like, I swear, the characters that they want in their video game, when it comes to female video game characters, have to be flat-chested, doesn't have a curvy body, that's, you know, or is gay, or is transgender, or is obese. Like, it's like the four ideal characters that they want. And like, it's so absolutely absurd that they want to preach diversity and inclusion when it's like they have a very narrow list of what's ideal to them of beauty standards of what they want to be represented in the video game. It's just so hypocritical, especially when they want to preach that and act like they're so noble when they're preaching, you know, diversity and inclusion.
あるぞ。
さあ幕が上がりますわ。
酔わせて。頑張ってください。
Because I love games like this. I absolutely miss games like this. I wish games like this would be around more often, especially like actually easily accessible in the West, in Canada and United States. And like I said, Japan's kind of going down the same route as North America right now when it comes to Canada and United States, when it comes to like the light censorship, the heavy censorship, and notification. Right now, Japan's on the light censorship with the whole adding more clothes to their female video game characters and slightly removing the breast size, slightly reducing the breast size. You know what I mean? But that's like they've already kind of said they're willing to embrace, fully embrace the woke feminist ideology in the East. So like even though they're on the first stage, and when I say on the first stage, I can give you a perfect example. They've censored Tifa Lockhart twice, and they've actually censored Ada Wong once. And like I said, when it came to like the light censorship and the heavy censorship, the light censorship was just slightly removing the breast size, not removing but reducing. Light censorship, like I said, wasn't, I said, what was it, removing? It's not removing, but like I said, the light censorship was slightly reducing the breast size, as well as putting more clothes on them and slightly reducing the curvature of the hourglass figure of female video game characters. So like those were the things, was like I said, reducing the breast size, covering them up with more clothes to make sure that less skin was being shown, and it slightly also, besides reducing the breast size, was like slightly reducing the hourglass figure and the curvature of the female video game character's body. And like Japan's kind of already started to do that with like Tifa Lockhart and Ada Wong, and like that was light censorship I just described. That which shows that, like I said, the beginning of the 10 years of this woke feminist ideology. In the middle of the 10 years, it became, instead of light censorship, it was heavy censorship. And like now Japan, from the East, even though like the West has pretty much already gone to straight up uglification, the East has pretty much gone to heavy censorship now, where they're literally getting to a point where they're not there yet, but they're going in that direction of completely covering up the female video game characters from neck to toe, and completely taking away the jingle physics and reducing the breast size to only A cup and B cups. Like they're getting very dangerously close to that second stage that I'm talking about, where it's heavy censorship. They've already gone to the light censorship, but they're very close to the heavy censorship now. And the fact that they're willing to fully endorse this woke ideology, who knows? Pretty soon we're gonna get characters that have been uglified from the East now. Like I said, games shouldn't be freaking censored whatsoever. No, there should be a free market for gamers to choose for themselves. We don't need localizers. We don't need journalists. We don't need consultants. The jobs that they have specifically is literally only to find issues with things to be offended about, so they can keep their jobs, and so they can and that's what it is. So like I said, they have low self-esteem, lack of self-confidence, and they're insecure. And they're insecure of those two things because they're insecure of that one thing of losing their jobs, and they're insecure because they have low self-esteem and self-confidence. You know, and like that's. And they're only there, like I said, to either reduce, restrict, or exclude something or censor something. That's the whole purpose to their freaking jobs. Is to literally restrict, reduce, and exclude and censor things. Which basically absolutely disallows the possibility of there being a free market, of there being a freedom of expression and free speech. Like it completely, with those kinds of jobs, it completely nullifies the capabilities and the rights for individuals to have access to a free market, for a developer to freely express themselves creatively. Now the only thing that it doesn't really affect is maybe the free speech, but like it definitely affects the free market and it affects the developer, you know, and to be able to be artistically creative and expressing themselves in an artistic way with these woke journalists and consultants and localizers, because their job there is literally to find an issue that it can be considered offensive, that they need to feel like they need to censor, exclude, or all these other things that I mentioned earlier, or restrict. And when you're restricting, excluding, and censoring something, that literally nullifies, the right to a free market for a gamer and the right for a developer to be able to be artistically expressive.